I think we'll kick off. We had, I think there was about 40 odd people signed up for this, but it's 1:05 now, so, and I'm sure we have other things to be doing, so we'll get started. Um, First and foremost, I'd like to welcome you all to the Republic of Work Lunch and Learn series. They're held every Tuesday at 1 p.m. in webinar format. There's a variety of topics to suit all businesses from which to learn, and you'll find upcoming events on the WhatsApp section of the Republic of Work website, republicofwork.com. My name is John Keating. I run a company called Well Said Communications. I got involved with teaching public speaking and presentation skills about 12 years ago now. When I started first, I was working presentations, live presentations were something that I found very, very difficult. When I worked in London in the 90s, every Friday morning we'd have to get up and do presentations, and it was always a bit of a nightmare. Certainly Thursday night was nauseous. And then when we came back to Cork, a friend of mine suggested I join Toastmasters, which I did, and I found that great. But the club I joined was met at night time, which presented a problem with 2 young kids. Bishopstown Library had opened up at that time 10, 11 years ago. So I approached the library about starting a Saturday morning club. And that was the first one in Ireland, and that club has been going now for the last 10 years very successfully. Toastmasters is, as an organization, it's an American started, and it's dedicated to helping people just become confident with standing up and speaking to people before a live audience. In time, then I was asked by EMC and Ballycollig to start an in-house club for them. All the executives out there had to present every week, and they found that terrifying because nobody's trained. The unfortunate thing with our society here and generally everywhere, we're not taught how to communicate, to stand up and speak in public, and it presents people with a huge challenge. You know, from primary school to secondary school to college, that ability to stand and speak is not being taught. I've started teaching now in UCC public speaking skills because it's not on the curriculum, and it causes a problem. And interestingly, then with the online presentations, that also tends to present problems. I worked with a lady recently. She had a terrible fear of public speaking, but equally had a terrible fear of speaking to camera, speaking online, which the company required her to do so. They reckon she'd never actually get up and give a speech online or speech in public. I managed to encourage her to do that, and thought, well, if you can do it in public, maybe we can move online and do it to camera. But that caused a complete meltdown, and that was a huge problem. So presenting online is a very different skill, and it presents different problems. So today we're going to look at that. As I say, my background would be talking to an audience. So face-to-face communication to me, it was always the way to go. And it presents. One second. Yeah. So yeah, presentation online, it causes difficulties. Sometimes it could be cultural. Sometimes there've been time zones involved. Sometimes goals and priorities are not set out very clearly. It can be lost in translation. But when we do present generally, obviously the face-to-face, as I said, is best. But when we do present, we have normally 6 tools available to us. And that will be the words we use, the slides we use, the voice, body language, eye contact, and critically the audience are the 6 main tools that we get to use when we're presenting face to face. When we go online, we lose 3 of those. We lose in major effect of body language, um, which is a big factor. I mean, there's no opportunity to walk or move around the stage area. Our gestures are, nearly gone. Sometimes people use their hands if they get too close. It's not really effective for that. Eye contact is another big issue. Eye contact when you're talking to an audience really develops trust, and that goes. And then, of course, the audience in essence goes, because we can't feel or connect with an audience, and we can't really determine the effect we're having on an audience. So when we lose those 3 things, it's a big problem, and it really lessens our ability to connect with an audience online. So we're left with words, slides, and voice, and then of course technology then becomes a big part in how we try and communicate and connect with an audience. It's not great. It's an imperfect system, but it does require that we must try and aspire at least to have a great impact with our audience. So presenting online, we have technology, our content, slides, and voice, and most importantly, then interaction. How do we interact with the audience? And these are the areas that we're going to try explore today. First, with the technology, it's vitally important really to get started with this early. You can't really turn up 3 or 4 minutes beforehand and hope everything works. There will be technology mishaps and breakdowns. So it's vitally important that if we're going to start presenting online, we turn up at least 15, 30 minutes earlier. I certainly did that today with Angie. And it was important that we got set up and organized to make sure that the audio and video settings were right, and that the screen share works. And at least then you have a degree of confidence that you have everything in play to get started. Then we look at the other aspects then of, make sure there are no surprises. If people start early, that you have everything on mute. And most importantly, that, like today, we knew that we would start, 1:05, that when you're ready to start, that you're ready to go. So it's all about set all the attendees on mute, avoid all those weird sounds at the beginning, like my barking dogs, or, and you can unmute people if you need to. You limit and remove audio and video. Now, I've tried to use video in the past, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I found it probably doesn't work more often. I would like, and certainly if I'm presenting in person, it's something I do like to use is video at times. But if you are going to use it, it's essential that you test and test and test to make sure that it is going to work. If you are using video, it's important to use the share computer sound from your computer itself and not from your own computer. So click the share and computer sound, and that will certainly give you a better chance in terms of the sound quality coming through. As I say, sometimes in the past, the video would work, but the sound didn't. Okay, do you want people on the screen, everybody? Sometimes that can be a bit distracting. And you can then have the opportunity to switch to presenter mode. Now, camera position is something that I find, is interesting as well, because sometimes people, they tend to talk down, or they're looking up, which is strange. You need really trying to keep the camera level at eye level. I have a stand, and sometimes I would use books or whatever to get my laptop up to a position where I may try to keep eye contact. So not to be looking down, or certainly not to be looking up the nose of your audience. Okay, backlight is another issue, which we come across a lot. position yourself, you know, with your back to the window, and all we see is a very unclear, darkened face. So you need to be just conscious of that. So the background, you know, it's important to think about what you're trying to deliver. Some people use in Zoom the backgrounds that they provide, like bridges and very exotic places. I think it's best probably just to keep it as neutral as you can. If you look at, for example, there was this screenshot taken of the British government, and you can see a collection of different backgrounds. Barris seems sort of homely type of affair. You have Joseph Rees-Mogg, a rather posh Etonian, at home in his suit and tie on, and behind him books, obviously trying to project that sort of very intellectual view. You have Liz Truss then with a Union Jack going out of her head, which is rather strange. And then you have Matt Hancock again, you know, a lot of books trying to project what I don't know. The background is important, and if you can keep it neutral, all the better. But it does, if it can be distracting for an audience, depending on the type of background that you have. So tools to help us to keep it visual. Now, when it comes to presenting in person or presenting online, I would have a huge problem with bullet points. So we should use images to express big ideas, or use icons to highlight key points, and be creative then in the typography and consistent with the fonts to emphasize the key points. Now, if you look at that visual and then contrast it to this, it's saying the same thing, but in a very different way. There are tools to keep it visual, but we use icons like the images, and then the fonts. So instead of bullet points like that, we're trying to express it in that format. And it's far easier to communicate that images always speak, you know, a picture can paint 1,000 words. Icons are very useful, and then the fonts are useful. And consistency in the fonts is what's critical. Again, when we look at less bullet points on the left, you know, if we start putting that, even in a live presentation, putting that type of stuff up, your audience is going to start reading that, and they're going to take your attention off you, and they'll be able to read a lot faster than you were able to talk. So use a picture and keep, if you're putting text in, keep it very tight and concise. Okay, again, using icons instead of words, it conveys an awful lot, and it, you know, it gives us the ability to talk and communicate, so we can see far easier and get the idea of what's being communicated through icons. Again, this is a huge problem we find in presenting in person and as well online. We put up graphs that have far too much information. They're not very clear. This type of information, ideally, even in a live presentation, should be given as a handout and never put up on the screen, and certainly not online, because it's just, you know, we have to keep what we're projecting very simple and very clear, and certainly this doesn't do that. So any questions on that so far? I can unmute because we have. No.
No, I have no questions anyway, John. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
I might have a few towards the end.
All right. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. We'll move on. you know, sometimes you'll see images that there's too many images in one place. So the idea is just keep it to a minimum. It looks great, but can be confusing. So not to use too many images at once. So you know, that's our technology and our content and slides. So the next thing we're going to look at is voice. Voice is something that's very, very critical. I suppose the most important aspect in when we are communicating online, and what I found interesting of late, we've taken all our Toastmaster meetings. Like we have a Toastmaster club in Republic of Work, and that meets every Monday. And we normally would have had 20 to 30 people coming in every Monday night to give speeches, to get feedback, to work on topics, impromptu speaking. We had a very multinational club. That's all got on Zoom. So we still meet every Monday night at 6:30, but we're on Zoom. Some of our members, one guy, young guy, Dominic, he's gone back to Germany, so he joins. We have a girl from New York, she comes in. And all Toastmaster clubs around the world have gone on Zoom. So that means, you know, we have people popping in from New Zealand or the States who are members of different clubs, but they know we're online. So, and it's been great to see that. And, you know, the voice and our ability to communicate then, what's really significant is that, you know, people are getting very conversational, and that's what we're trying to achieve when we stand and speak in public, is to make it conversational and not speechy. And I found over the last couple of months, certainly speakers have become far more conversational when they're giving speeches online, and that greatly enhances their ability to connect with an audience. I've heard more speakers getting feedback on the basis that the people giving them evaluations felt that they were speaking to them directly because there was so little distance. I mean, the distance now is down to about 2 feet, whereas generally it could be, you know, 10, 15, 20 feet. And they're, you know, as long as they got that idea of keeping a conversation, having a conversation with the camera, with the audience, it certainly enhances their ability to connect. And we have to think about how we want to feel and think, you know, how do we want our audience to think and feel? And that's something we have to be very clear about our intention from the start. That and you know, we can do that by thinking about the content, how we deliver it, but it's something we have to be very conscious of. So in terms of voice, a simple statement like Anthony said that his boss did not commit a fraudulent act is very straightforward. Anthony said that his boss did not commit. But that can also be said as Anthony said that his boss did not commit a fraudulent act. Or it can be said as Anthony said that his boss did not commit a fraudulent act. And it's when we're communicating online, it's no matter what type of sentences we're using, like again with this one, Anthony said that his boss did not commit a fraudulent act, or Anthony said that his boss did not commit a fraudulent act. Could imply he did something else, but not a fraudulent act. So we can use the same sentence, the different emphasis, and it's critical when we're preparing our content. Where do we put the emphasis? And we need to be able to put emphasis on our voice at certain points. We also have to use the power of pause so that our audience can take it in. And we do that in preparing our content by looking at each sentence and at different points, you know, that where is that emphasis? And that's vitally important, because we all have experienced, I'm sure, in the past, lecturer or a speaker who had a very monotone voice, a very flat voice and just keeps going one pace all the time. And that induces narcolepsy, and we fall asleep and get bored. So critical that we look at our content and find out at what points of our communication or our sentences, where is the emphasis, where's the pause, okay, and say it out loud. When we have something important to say, put that bit of oomph into how we communicate. Again, in doing presentations in person or online, it's vitally important that we record and practice ourselves. I know it's something that none of us really like to do at times, is listen to ourselves, but it's certainly, in terms of listening to our voice, is to record it and relay it. Particularly for speeches or presentations, I would always record that and then listen to it when I'm out walking. It's not about learning it rote or word for word, but it's just getting comfortable about where that presentation is going, and what's the flow of that. And it just means I'm not reading notes. I can get an idea of where the presentation is going, but it's all about preparation, and getting comfortable with your own voice. Something that I've certainly found a challenge at the start. Okay, now today I'm sitting down, but I think generally I much prefer to be standing. I think it's better for the voice, and certainly when I practice, I would normally be practicing standing up. But it's optional. I mean, some people find it more comfortable to sit, but sometimes better to stand. And when you do stand, you have that opportunity to demonstrate a bit more body language, particularly if you're standing further back from the screen. Any questions?
John, I have a quick question for you. Just in terms of, you said that technology and interactivity were going to play a huge part with online presenting. So just exactly, I suppose you have an hour session here. Like, how much interactivity within an hour session do you think is applicable? And I know obviously it depends on the size of the group, which is the part that I find tricky, because I could have 6 people or I could have 66 people.
Yeah, I think what you'll see as we go on is the interaction.
Yeah, because I like to get as much interactivity. I think people get a little bit more out of the session if they feel I suppose they feel more engaged with everybody.
Yeah, and I'll be coming on to that part. Certainly, it's not great for one person to be talking for an hour. I mean, I think generally you get about 10-15 minutes people's attention. So like that's why I would break this up at the moment with questions as I go along, rather than having questions all at the end.
Okay.
But we'll have a look at other ways we can interact and bring the audience in.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I have one question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sure.
I have one question. Do you recommend some microphone to present online, or something like this, specific software?
I think a microphone is best.
No, do you recommend some kind of microphone, for example, one specific or something like this?
I don't, but I know this. I mean, I don't. Yeah, a headset is very good. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just pop in. The headsets are great because it drowns out any additional background noises.
Yeah.
And I think if you're presenting, I think it just gives you a little bit more focus as well.
Yeah,
I think they're great.
Yeah, I got it. Well, thank you. And I have one other question. Actually, it's about: are you going to publish this recording somewhere to access after, or something like this?
Sorry?
Are you going to post this recording somewhere on YouTube to be accessed after?
I hadn't planned to.
Okay, are we going to send by email, right? Sorry, because I done this question before and I misunderstand.
Okay.
So it is being recorded. I can see up at the top that the session is being recorded. So I guess we can
Okay, how you guys are going to send to us actually? Sorry.
I'd imagine it'll be on the Republic of Work site.
I think you have to request it actually. So if you request it,
Okay.
general,
Okay.
Angie will probably send you a link to the recording.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I mean, this is back to your point, Aileen, in terms of what's the best way to interact with your audience. Obviously, at the start, it's important to to welcome people. We have Q&As and we have polls that we can use, and they can be used throughout. So again, welcome attendees by name at the opening. That's important. And then how to, the manage questions. You can ask, obviously, in the chat, that's one area that they can go. You can unmute. You can also use a moderator at the end if you wanted, where one person collects the questions and the other person answers. You can set up polls in Zoom, set them up in advance. Simple questions or multiple choice are possible. You can use other optional polls like Poll Everywhere or Mentimeter or Slido. The word cloud and Quizracky, etc. is probably simple. Keep it simple is best in getting those. But it's a great way to engage the audience, and you can use those throughout. You can use them, at various different points, depending on the type of questions that you want to ask your audience. Again, questions in the chat. Anything on there?
I put something on the chat talking about the Kahoot option. Do you know Kahoot or something like this?
I don't.
Well, it's a good platform if you want to use to do some quizzes or something, because it's very usual if you are talking to teenagers or children, because once you are there, you are going to see it's possible to put a lot of buttons to interaction, and it's a good option. I think it's like a competition actually.
Yeah.
But it's a good option. Sorry.
No, and it's called
Kahoot.
Oh,
Yeah, I wrote down, but if you check on the chat.
Yeah.
John, the Slido and the Poll Everywhere, do they, so how would you incorporate that into Zoom? Does it just come up as a separate window that you again share?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do they vote then? Does it come
up? Sometimes they use their phones.
Okay, so they can actually tap on it. It's not something they're looking at. Okay. And there's no problem with using that in Microsoft Teams as well, is there?
I'm not sure about Teams. I mean, the one I'm most familiar with is Zoom.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to try it out anyway, so thank you.
Yeah.
I was wondering how do you say your name? Alien? I'm so sorry.
Aileen.
Yeah, when you were saying about how to use these platforms during the section inside Zoom, for example, or Microsoft Teams, I was checking that we have many people here using cell phones. Like there is one man here who using a Huawei Y6, for example, and probably when we put these options as quizzes, he's not going to be able to change the Zoom section during the competition or during the quiz, or it's going to be necessary to say to everyone that you're going to have this quiz during your section, and they're not be able to use the cell phone during the section. I don't know. It's just a type.
Karen is just sharing some information there that you can run polls on Zoom, which I've done before as well. So that's fine. And I think, well, personally for me, everybody who I'm talking to, they're going to be at their laptop or PC looking at a large screen. So I'm okay for that, I think. But thank you.
I mean, overall, I think just to sort of conclude that, I think with the presenting online, it does present us with, great opportunities in ways to develop that ability to connect. And if we keep it conversational, obviously with the crisis we've been through over the last couple of months, Zoom and the other platforms would, have really given us that opportunity to connect with colleagues and clients. And without it, I don't know where we'd be. But it's certainly something that's going to be with us, I think, an awful lot more in the future. I find working with clients, I find on a one-to-one basis, it's working out very well, particularly when it comes to working on crafting speeches or presentations, where you can have a face-to-face. I certainly think it's going to have a huge effect on business travel in the future. Whereas, and I think Zoom obviously is improving and will develop as time goes on. But ultimately, as someone that deals with people and presentations and public speaking, it's trying to get back to that face-to-face connection with the audience is something that I'm certainly looking forward to. But Zoom as an option today, I'm very, very happy with it, and I think it does provide us with great opportunities. I certainly hope what we've covered today has been of some benefit to you, and I would invite you all to, if you're interested in coming along to Republic of Work Toastmasters, you'll find us on a meetup, and we put up our link to that meeting every Monday, and you can pop in to our online meeting every Monday. We're not there now next Monday because of the bank holiday, but we will be certainly there the following week. And there is the other Toastmasters, all Toastmaster clubs. I think a lot of them you will find online now. You'll find them on meetup pages, and you will be able to connect and just pop in and see a meeting in play. It's a great opportunity to practice and develop skills now in the virtual world, and hopefully when this pandemic is over and behind us, certainly getting into a Toastmaster club itself is one great way to develop your communication skills. So if there are no more other questions, I will wrap it up there. I want to thank you all for coming today, for attending, and certainly thank Angie and Republic of Work for the opportunity of presenting this today. And I wish you all well. Thank you.
Thanks very much, John.